Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. I'm your host, Jose Galison, and the kitty of the day is not just one kitty, but a whole host of kitties. We got a new litter. As you guys can see, I got them in a little box right here. I know you hear them crying and stuff, but it's fine. These are all big guys. Doing a little trick where you take them and you if you take the little guys and you let them feed alone for a little while to help them. I got 7 in this litter, so I'm having to. Sorry, I'm a little late. So because part of that is having to take extra care, weighing these guys multiple times a day because it is hard for one mama to keep up with that many kitties. But now, if you just like seeing my hot takes a day, Monday through Friday, we try to do it around 11 a.m. Eastern. Or if you just like seeing the kitties of the day. By the way, this is from Phoebe's litter, for those who remember seeing her as the kitty of the day. She was huge, and she had a lot of kitties in there. Now, if you just want to see the kitties of the day, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell for notifications to see when I'm going live. And then when a new video is dropping, we'll see you in the show.
Beautiful thing, right now.
Rise and shine, it's a beautiful day.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to white light.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
It's crazy evil.
Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. We have plenty to go through today. We're starting off with NFTD, and if you know, you know. Gotta be a little careful with that monetization since it's back up and running. A little reminder, you guys can drop super chats. We got Florida Taxa 1A, and we got Fed Foolishness, that last one kind of being like a grab bag of different Fed-related stories. Let's be real, it's mostly just Ken Silva tweets. And articles. So we have plenty to go through. As always, we start off with some icebreaker type content, and then we get into foreign policy, and then we get into those main topics I just told you about. And in between, we say our good mornings. I know it's technically not morning, but hey, on the other coast it is, so it counts, whatever. It's still morning in America some places. And in between, we'll say hi, all that good stuff. If you really want to get through the noise, then make sure to drop a super chat. If you're being mean, you got to drop a super chat because I'm not reading it. I'm not reading mean words anymore unless you give me money. May as well monetize the homos, the haters, I mean. But we have plenty to go through today. We'll get started with the icebreaker content, like I said. Starting off... I guess just kind of a little bit of we talked about Fuentes today. Well, just so happened, or yesterday, just so happened that he ended up on the Tim Pool show. I didn't watch any of it, nor will I. But I did see it was kind of crazy. My feed was just flooded with, I don't know if it's just my feed or my algo, or if I'm just more in touch with the Groip, but I had a lot of upset Groipers I was seeing on the timeline, just saying it's lame shit. This is, for example, this one right here, Uber Soy. Nick Fuentes is live and Tim Pool's show, and they spend their time talking about meaningless conservative slop. So, looks like after all of this, looks like perhaps he's cozying into the mainstream conservative, realm, not wanting to be left off in the fringes anymore. Perhaps, I'm not sure. Just seems a weird move for him. He doesn't really need to do this. But I guess if that's I don't know. Hey, but a lot of the Groipers were kind of like, what the fuck? This was gay. Nothing was said of interest here. I don't know. You guys let me know if you guys checked it out. Was it worth a damn? But, kind of in that realm, kind of staying fun, funny, goofy. I just wanted to point out this guy, at Connor Eats Pants on Twitter. This guy crushes. I can't remember. He had some crazy ratio a while ago, but he does this thing where he just pops in to certain people's accounts and just ratios the shit out of them. For example, this one, Tim Pool posted, the only thing that matters is AI. Everything else is stamp collecting. And then Connor says, you have a child, Tim. And the ratio is insane. For example, Tim, he got a 1.4 thousand. Connor got 72,000. So I don't know, just saying, go follow this guy. I also heard murmurs that Twitter's talking about perhaps changing the monetization to make it so that people like Connor in this exact scenario can literally kife all the friggin' all the money, all the revenue based off tweets when ratioed, which I don't know, I'm of two minds with that one. You know, it could easily end up being weaponized just for larger accounts because then they just end up retweeting everything, you know, way deep in the replies, yada yada. But either, you know, on the flip side, you end up with these warriors like Connor here that you know, essentially take people like Tim Pool who are just kind of, I know he posted the other day that we made like 200,000 or something crazy this year, and anyone who's ever followed or not even anyone who's paid attention to Tim Pool's Twitter feed, there's nothing like groundbreaking going on there. It's literally mostly it's just smug, kind of fence sitting nonsense. So. And a kind of engagement bait. Clearly, he like does this thing where he'll post things that are ambiguous, or he'll post something that he's like, "Oh, that was a troll." Like he'll post like something like, "Oh, Israel has a right to defend itself," and then everyone gets all nuts, and then he's like, "Oh, I was clearly just trolling you," or like, okay, whatever. But it kind of with that, you kind of end up with these Connors of the world that you know, take that away, you know, kind of sanitize the Twitterverse. Which I'm kind of here for. There's been a lot of slop as of late, so because the monetization seemed to really incentivize the slop. So I think I'm here for the ratio game. Let's get it going. Also, in other news, we got riders now pouring buckets of water right outside the driveway of ICE in order to make agents slip and fall. Just let's be real, a little funny. Let's watch this. Just them dumping water out the back. And then in other news, they're also painting false tunnels on the side of mountains in order to make agents smash their trucks down into musical accordions. This is at Justin Bold AGJI, who made that joke. I just stole it straight from him, but it is pretty funny. We are seeing comical things coming out of there. First segment of the day we'll be going into when we get into it, the you know, less comical, a little bit more like, oh, rioters are getting nuts. But on the flip side, the ICE agents completely missing the point. This was an article out of Newsweek. It says ICE agents complain about Nazi comparisons. Say they're only enforcing the laws. Well, let me introduce you to the Nuremberg defense. So I don't know. It's funny that people still to this day use this as a valid or try to use this as a valid excuse when they're doing bad things. But yes, just following the law, only following orders, whatever. Badges don't grant extra rights, and you know, Nuremberg defense. So. But all right, let's pop into the chat, and then we'll get into some the foreign policy after we say a few good mornings to our early shower uppers. Who all we got in here? Good morning, Jay Tunnels. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Clockwise saying good afternoon. It's good morning in here. Okay, Clockwise. Good morning, OG Matza Ball. Good morning, Balake. Gay Guy TV right now. Let's go. Yeah, baby. Let's go. Good morning. Good morning saying I look tired. I'm actually not too tired. A little bit, I guess. Good morning, Seville. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Bug Fights. Good morning, Rise to Liberty, saying it's still morning in Utah. Okay, hey, here we go. DWS saying Fuentes turned into DeView. Yeah, he sure seems like it. Bug Fight says, not sure what's going on with Nick. I'm watching. Pretty boring. I don't know why you're watching it, but I'm glad you're doing it for us. If you find anything interesting, let us know. Good morning, William Miller. Says, do groypers not comprehend the word groyper? Sounds super gay. Does it sound gay? I don't really have. It's kind of neutral to me. I don't feel any love or any hate for the word. It's pretty neutral. I don't know. I guess because I don't really know what the fuck. What does it mean to groip? Like, what is a groiper? I just know that's what you call Fuentes' people. Good morning, comment mama. Good morning, good morning. Fat Cats is what man learns from history. That he doesn't learn from it. Good morning, Mega Nerd. Good morning, good morning. All right, guys, let's get into foreign policy. Starting off, a little bit of a follow-up from yesterday where we talked about the military flights possibly happening over Mexico. Well, I guess Scheinbaum, which is a funny name for a president of Mexico, apparently she says she's received assurance that will not be the case. So in an effort, by the way, this is from Kyle Anzalone over at antiwar.com. In an effort to quell concerns that U.S. bombs would soon be falling on Mexico, President Claudia Sheinbaum said she received assurance from Washington that there would be no military flights over Mexico. On Monday, Sheinbaum explained she had received written assurance from the U.S. that no military flights would take place over Mexico. She added that Washington pledged to inform Mexico City of any military operations before they take place. Scheinbaum's remarks followed warnings from the FAA to civilian aircraft to watch for military flights over Mexico and parts of Central and South America. The FAA issued a similar advisory before the U.S. attacked Venezuela and kidnapped President Maduro. Trump has pressed Sheinbaum to allow the U.S. to conduct military operations outside against cartels in Mexico. She has repeatedly refused to permit any foreign ministry actions inside Mexico. Multiple outlets have reported the U.S. is preparing to conduct military operations inside of Mexico, including strikes on suspected drug labs and raids targeting cartels. Under Trump, the U.S. has designated several Mexican cartels as foreign terror organizations. The White House justified its strikes on suspected drug boats in the Caribbean by arguing the vessels were operated by cartels designated as a narco-terrorist group. So the precedent is already there. It's just a matter of will they capitalize on it. I know this story is that Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, received written assurance that this will not be the case, but that paper is worth about as much as probably what it was written on. Pretty useless for anyone who's paid attention to any negotiations, say between Iran, who else? Even some of the back and forth between Venezuela, or even not necessarily Venezuela. I'm more thinking of some of the stuff between our own Congress and the presidency, where they kind of had back and forth about whether they were going to do anything in Venezuela, because there were a few different I forget what they call them. Essentially, they were trying to pass certain things that how am I trying to say? The Congress was trying to pass things through that would prevent the president from being able to do any of this. Essentially, the Venezuela stuff. That happened a few times. Every single time it got voted down, but at least one, if not two of them, they flat out lied to them, or oh, we're not going to do anything anytime soon, so don't worry about it. Which is kind of a common theme in our diplomacy these days, is that they just flagrantly lie in the most dishonorable of ways. So I don't know. Hopefully there's no we don't get any incursions into Mexico, but I don't know. I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock in the written assurance, but I guess it's a positive indication. It's a positive indication. A little bit. Here's another one that's a little bit weird. A little bit. Kind of makes you scratch your head. It's almost like, is this a good thing? In a certain roundabout way. But Trump invited Putin to join the Gaza Board of Peace, which I say good thing, but even then the Board of Peace itself is kind of, the more I've been looking at it, the more it's frankly fucking ridiculous. So is inviting Putin going to really mean anything? I don't know. But let's read this piece. It's from Alan Mosley over Anti-War. It says, Russia and Israel are the latest governments asked to join President Donald Trump's expanding Board of Peace. The body, he says, will implement his plan for Gaza and mediate conflicts worldwide. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov confirmed on Monday that Russian President Vladimir Putin has received an invitation, even as Russia's nearly 4-year war on Ukraine continues. Israel has also been invited, but the office of Netanyahu offered no comment on whether it will participate. So we're getting an invitation to Putin. So it's I don't know, maybe this should somehow make inroads for peace. While France was a recent invitee to the board, sources close to Emmanuel Macron said the country would decline Trump's invitation. According to the report, France does not intend at this stage to give a favorable response to the request, adding, the charter goes beyond the framework of Gaza alone. It raises major questions, particularly regarding respect for the principles and structure of the UN, which must under no circumstances be called into question. We disagree there. The Board of Peace is a 3-tier structure created to supervise Gaza's militarization construction under a 20-point plan Trump unveiled last September. It would be chaired by the former president and would elevate U.S. and European figures such as Marco Rubio and former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, while relegating Palestinian representatives to the municipal level. Legal scholars and human rights advocates say this design marginalizes Palestinians and entrenches Western and Israeli interests. I believe it's my understanding, too, Trump would be the leader, and so essentially he has the executive rule over everything. At the end of the day, it all comes down to him. Peskov said Moscow was seeking to clarify all the nuances of Trump's offer. Putin has lauded Trump's attempts to broker ceasefires, but the invitation arrives as Russian forces fight in Ukraine and as Moscow's relations with Israel deteriorate over the Gaza assault. News agencies have reported that Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko is also on the invite list, highlighting the eclectic mix of states Trump hopes to enlist. Netanyahu's office subsequently said that the announcement of the Gaza Executive Board, the body subordinate to the Board of Peace, was not coordinated with Israel and ran contrary to government policy. The Prime Minister's office objected to the board's composition, yet a source told Haaretz the public rebuke was largely performative and that Netanyahu had been aware of the planning. The report added that a U.S. official responded, "The Gaza Initiative is Washington's project and that Netanyahu can't really go against us." Bezalel Smotrich has taken the opposition further. Speaking to settlers in the West Bank, he thanked Trump for securing hostage releases, but said the plan for Gaza is bad for the state of Israel and must be shelved. Smotrich urged Netanyahu to dismantle the U.S.-led Civilian Military Coordination Center in Kiryat Gat, established to coordinate post-war planning, arguing that foreign staff from countries like Egypt and Britain undermined Israel's security. He demanded that Hamas be given only a brief ultimatum to disarm before Israeli forces stormed the Strip and imposed direct control, rejecting any role for Turkish or Qatari officials. This rejection, along with a proposed board lacking any Palestinian representation, has received criticism from Jerusalem. The White House says the plan has now moved into its second phase, yet Hamas points out that Israel has not fulfilled earlier commitments such as opening the Rafah crossing and allowing temporary housing, while Israel argues that Hamas still has not returned the remains of an Israeli soldier, which you talked about yesterday. Is literally one corpse, which they probably can't find, honestly. Peskov's acknowledgement of Russia's invitation, coupled with Smotrich's call to shut the coordination center, illustrates how Trump's initiative has become a lightning rod. Critics argue that recruiting leaders enmeshed in wars from Ukraine and the Middle East while sidelining Gazans themselves risks entrenching conflicts rather than resolving them. As bombardment and blockade continue in the enclave, the idea of a peace panel dominated by foreign and pro-Israeli interests underscores the chasm between diplomatic spectacle and the lived reality of Palestinians. And if I recall correctly, I believe there's a $1 billion buy-in, too, for any of these countries to make it even more just kind of what the fuck is going on here. Apparently, we got more attacks going on in Gaza. Surprise, surprise. This is from the Cradle. It says, dozens of distress calls daily. Israeli troops continue to fire indiscriminately at civilians in Gaza. So the Gaza civil defense spokesman Mahmoud Basal stated on 19 January that ambulance crews are responding to dozens of distress calls each day, reporting that Israeli forces are firing indiscriminately at Palestinian civilians and the makeshift tents and shelters in which most live. Basil emphasized that what is happening in the Gaza Strip is a new and dangerous tactic of killing innocent people, noting that these bullets reach deep into the cities and camps, resulting in the deaths of Palestinians and injuries to others in clear and blatant violation of all humanitarian and international laws. So we got indiscriminate firing. We've got it in the past 40 hours. I guess they've killed 2, injured 12 with these shootings. So completely unsurprised that this is continuing to go on, but we've also got they're picking things back up in the West Bank. So fun, isn't that great? This is Kyle, by the way. The Israeli Military and Security Service launched new operations in the West Bank targeting Hebron. Since October 2023, Israel has tightened its apartheid rule over the occupied territory and accelerated the process of expelling Palestinians from their land. On Monday, the IDF and Shin Bet issued a joint statement that military operations had begun in the Jebel Johar area of Hebron. They claim the target of Israeli raids will be terrorists and the operations will last several days. Journalists on the ground report that Israel is further partitioning Hebron. They brought in iron gates a short while ago, and this is the dangerous part. Al Jazeera's Arabic Montazer Nassar said, it seems that what was happening on the ground is a prelude to dividing the already divided. Nasser described the operation as the largest Israeli military presence in Hebron since the Second Intifada. Since October 7th, Israel has conducted military operations across the West Bank. Over 1,000 Palestinians have been killed. That's just in the West Bank. Additionally, tens of thousands have been removed from their homes. In Jenin, over half of all buildings have been damaged or destroyed. At the same time, Tel Aviv has accelerated the process of Israeli settlement of the West Bank. Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich has said that Tel Aviv's goal is to prevent the creation of a Palestinian state and annex the West Bank. All right, that's it for foreign policy today, guys. Let's pop in the chat, say some more good mornings, and then we'll get into the first topic of the day, the NFTD. Until I die, that I'm not allowed to say on in a monetized channel. Maybe I'll say it here in a minute. Maybe I'll say it on Rumble. It'll be a Rumble exclusive. All right, let's roll through. Say good mornings. Good morning, Gottis. Good morning, Marna Mac. Clockwise saying all military actions of the CIA versus CIA sure are. Ooh, just noticed we already have a super chat. You guys are spoiling me. Good morning, Boomer Sooner. Good morning, Marty McFly saying what is up, y'all? Got to start a new cereal called Black Pill. I don't know, it could be good. Good morning, PJR. Says King Twink Midas Fuentes can now buy off his underage twinks with his gold like Kevin Spacey, right? Thank you, Boomer Sooner. First time super chatter here. This is my contribution and first super chat. Thank you, Boomer Sooner, for the $2. I appreciate it. Good morning, Smushy Snake. Says I usually watch the stream a bit after it's over, but I caught you on time today. Yep. Did you a favor starting late. So, silver lining to when I start late or even start early. We catch different people. Boomer says more super chats to come. Hell yeah. Give me that money. Give me money, pay pigs. Good morning. Or Comment Mama says I got monetized again. Yeah. Yesterday's episode was I got remonetized like right before then. So we can do super chats again. It's Marty McFly said he skipped the Timcast with Fuentes. He said Tim talked too much. Probably. Good morning, Cultural Swine. Good morning. Did I already say morning to you, Fire Pixie? I think I did. Good morning, Qbert. Good morning. Good morning, Uncle Ted. Saying read Cherry Seymour's The Last Circle. I don't know a ton about Cherry Seymour. I know she comes up sometimes in like OKC stuff and like very, very, very like obscure references. I think she kind of inserted herself a little bit into that. I've heard a lot of people kind of imply she's some sort of glowy. I don't fucking know enough about her. I'll have to look into her some point. Maybe I'll check that out. What else we got? Good morning, Scott. Good morning. Uncle Ted said, you'd be pissed too if your entire life's work was a lie like Richard Booth. What are you talking about? Did I miss some... Oh, okay. I don't know. Maybe you're getting some deep reference and I'm not catching. Maybe some. I think Richard had some issues with Sherry. I forget. I don't know. Maybe that's what you're getting at. Good morning, Boomer Sooner. Says feed the kitties. Don't use this for your water reservoir. Thank you. That additional $5 will go towards kitties eating. I will buy some more formula. It's looking like I'm probably going to have to. I've been really trying my best to not have to like do either tube feeding or bottle feeding because it always scares me. When you're dealing with little kitties, because it's like you could easily like accidentally kill them. For example, bottle feeding, like if it like draws too quickly, they can accidentally inhale the liquid. And if you fuck up with tube feeding, which is where you literally put a food down or a tube down their stomach, and you can once again accidentally make them. You can overfeed them and you can make them regurgitate, which will make them essentially choke on their own fucking vomit. And ta-da, you just killed the fucking kitten. So. But I don't know. I might have to resort to one of them because there's so goddamn many of them. I'm gonna have to probably supplement these guys. So that money actually very well may literally go towards feeding kitties because we get a nice formula, expensive shit. Let me see what else we got. Fire Pixie's bragging that he already popped my super chat cherry yesterday. So sorry, Boomer Sooner, if you thought you were if you're that special, you got sloppy seconds. So. Rise Celebrity saying super chats honestly kind of gay though since YouTube takes 30 or 40% or whatever. Yeah, I mean I will say if we do start getting if this starts picking up, we start getting a lot more super chats. I've seen a lot of people utilizing like I was about to go ahead and do that anyways. It's just that I don't feel like a ton of people would super chat anyways. So it's just like I'm not really gonna go for the effort of like doing that like weird other super chatty. Like I forget what they are. There's like different apps people use. You can drop them in like the live chat, pin it so people can go to it or whatever. I've seen people do that, and it takes less. I think some of them take even like none. So if you guys do start picking up the super chatting on YouTube, I probably will like do like a separate super chat thingy. Like it's what I mean. I don't know what you call it. Like a a tip or whatever. There's other ways. What else we got? Cash App. Oh yeah, somebody's saying Cash App. I'll have to ask Cash App. Maybe I can do that. Buy me coffee, says Boomer Sooner. Yeah, that's some options. All right, let's get into NFTD. Nigger faggot till I die. I said it, guys. If you know, you know. You need to be a Tower Gang enjoyer to get the reference. But the time has finally come to where it's time to call Don Lemon a nigger faggot. And so you're trying to keep that mod. I'm so torn here because the whole point in NFTD is like, till the day I die, I'm going to be going hard as fuck in the paint. I don't give a shit. Fuck this monetization. And the other part is like, they just gave me my money back. I do like money. So, but you know what I mean. But to start off this whole NFTD discussion, apparently they're getting ready to charge a black man with a KKK act for something that happened on MLK Day. What we're talking about here is Don Lemon. Don Lemon just did a big old dumb, big old boo-boo. Although I say dumb, boo-boo, I've seen some people that have like coped for whatever this is. I haven't looked into this extensively. You guys know the format of this show. We're kind of mostly wading through these waters together for the most part. Occasionally, sometimes I'll bring up something that like it's something I know about, or I'm doing some research and we're recovering it. But most of the time, it's like kind of new, fresh stuff that we're kind of working through together. We're forming our ideas on the fly. So I've seen just mostly the stuff that's popped up on my feed. I haven't really watched hardly any of the videos. I have some of them ready for you now. I've heard people coping that like with whatever happened with this Don Lemon thing that like, I don't even really know what the cope is. I mean, it's sort of something to do with like, oh, the pastor was like an ice guy or something, which, by the way, I say pastor, for I guess a little bit of spoiler here. Apparently, Don Lemon, as we're about to go through some of these clips and stuff, apparently Don Lemon joined a bunch of other protesters to, I guess maybe it's debatable to even say if he was part of the protest, particularly because he was just reporting on it, maybe, if you were trying to give him an out here. But either way, kind of becoming part of this protests inside of a church, which is a weird look, a weird look for sure. But I guess let's go ahead and get started. We'll kind of start off with the first clip that I've seen the most. Here is Don Lemon once he's already somehow he's already entered into the church. He's in the church. Here's him talking to the pastor of the church, Pastor David Easterwood. Oh, he's also Minnesota's acting ICE field office director. Okay. Well, that's interesting, but I still think, despite that, unless we find out through the course of this that this was literally like this wasn't even really a church thing and it was like some sort of ICE get together. But even then, we're still talking like, dude, you're trespassing. You can't just be going. How often are churches public property? I mean, they've got to be almost always private property. So I'd say you probably can't do this, even if they are doing an ICE to get together or something. If they're doing it in a church and the church gave them permission to be there, I don't think you can just be causing a scene like this. I don't think that's proper or allowed. So let's watch this though. Let's see this interaction that's I've seen going around the most.
What do you think of this? I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So,
but there were folks.
I have to take care of my flock.
Okay, but listen, we live there's a Constitution and the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom of assembly and protest.
Yeah. We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me though.
We're here to worship Jesus. Yes. That's why we're here. Yes. Okay. That's why we're here. Okay. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I ask that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to chronicle what happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to worship. Yeah. We're here to worship. Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
it. Okay. I mean, seems pretty, he's all mic'd up, looking like a churchy guy. But like I said, they say that this guy's the acting ICE field office director. A little weird that he's also a pastor. So, I mean, it is weird. Okay. But once again, doesn't fucking matter. You don't just get to go in there. I'm not a big fan. You guys have known some of my takes on ICE as of lately. Not a big fan of those guys. I'm not a big fan of the things going on over there. I've lost a decent amount of followers on Twitter and stuff for some of my takes. So if anything, this is like But Don Lemon is it can never be understated how absolutely retarded this man is. And regardless of what side of an issue he falls on, you almost don't want him on your side. You want Don Lemon to go fuck off and go do something else. All right, let's watch this other clip. I guess is I think like when they're getting ready to go in. Let's watch this.
Watch this guy here. Look, he's hugging his kid. And I've imagined it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. But again, careful. It's very slippery right here. Yeah. It's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here, but that's what really, careful, please, really slippery. Not kidding. That's what protesting is about.
So a lot of people pointed out this one and said, oh, here's him saying that this is what protesting's about. You see people leaving the building seeming, he says traumatized. I mean, maybe that's overstating it, but either way, I mean, at least like irritated, flustered, traumatized does seem a bit much. I mean, technically it may be correct, not that I'm at all really trying to come to the aid of these protesters. They seem pretty fucking ignorant. Seem pretty fucking awful here. But apparently people are leaving the church irritated by getting shouted down by protesters. All right, here's more. Here's another one from inside. I think this is like probably right after around the time he came in. So let's watch this.
This is the beginning of what's going to happen here. When you violate people's due process, when you pull people off the street, you start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution, when you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry. And if you remember what the civil rights movement was about, civil rights movement was about these very kinds of protests. There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt, to make uncomfortable. And that's what they're doing. And that's what I believe when I say everyone has to be willing to sacrifice something. You have to make people uncomfortable in these times. If you see how uncomfortable people... All
right, once again, this is retarded. I'm still resolutely going through these clips. Wow, these people fucking suck and are fucking stupid. Once again, not cool with doming fucking lesbians in the street like I saw happen before. I don't give badges extra rights. But I also think protesting is generally pretty fucking stupid. And if you are going to do it, there's certain bounds within which you should abide. And I don't know, not trespassing on private property is a pretty basic one. And not that I necessarily think like I give any sort of extra like oomph to it being a church, although it does kind of make I guess it feels grosser. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, you just can't be going into private places like this. And it's one thing if it's like an area like a store or something, and you go in there and you partake of your whatever the fuck retarded faggotry that you guys do. And then they don't say anything, like, because like somewhere can be a private property and still have this kind of like understood, this like unsaid rule that like people can come in and out of here. But like if we ask you to leave, it's the same thing idea of like I can go to McDonald's and I can sit there for hours and play on my laptop and maybe even put a boombox and like. I can do that up until the point somebody says, hey, you've been loitering here. We need you to go. The music's loud, whatever. Get the fuck out. And I don't get to go, well, I'm protesting or you're fucking infringing on my First Amendment right. I'm trying to no, that's not how it works. Your First Amendment does not fucking exist inside of private property. If anything, this is kind of once again displays how fucking stupid Don Lemon is. He doesn't even have a proper understanding of rights whatsoever. Like, this is why, for one, I don't really like the idea of when people say like freedom of speech or even like things like freedom of travel, like say with something like immigration, because it's like that's missing the point entirely. What you have is private property, and then you have public property. Public property is a contradiction in terms, honestly. But the reason why we have these things like, the Bill of Rights is mostly to deal with the tragedy of the commons, the issue that occurs when you have things like public property, and it gives you certain guidelines of how you're allowed to behave on public property. This is not public property. And also in reference to like how the government behaves, essentially, too. Like, essentially holds them within those bounds. They're not allowed to infringe on those certain rights or yada yada. But at the end of the day, private property rights are the superior rights. All other rights are fake and gay. I mean, really, they're all kind of fake, but it's the least fake is property rights. But they're all, at the end of the day, kind of fake. They're all made up. They're all social. What do they say? Social. I forget. I can't think of the term. All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's talk about how they're gonna hit this guy with the KKK Act. Let's say this Jeet and this homo. Let's hear them talk about it.
We will pursue charges in this case. I see various crimes that have occurred. Exactly what they are, I'm not going to flag, but the FACE Act has been mentioned as one of the predicates there. In other cases, the Biden DOJ used the Klan Act conspiracy charges tacked on to the FACE Act in the case of protests outside abortion clinics to bring much longer sentences. So there are a number of tools available to us. Who funded this? What else? What other crimes may have occurred? Was there a use of the wires or the mails in preparing for this event? Did anyone cross state lines to do this? All of those are potential predicates for additional federal charges.
I mean, I've just pulled up the Klan Act because this is the first time that I've heard this mentioned. This is a act that was passed in 1871, correction there, to combat the Ku Klux Klan and protect African Americans' voting rights, especially the Enforcement Act, which is known as the Force Act. So here's some of the information on screen. Would you mind breaking down for us, because we have just read the FACE Act and how this is an affinity to the FACE Act, an obvious and egregious demonstrable violation of the FACE Act, because they were entering a place of worship, harassing and threatening. We just played a video of a man, a bearded man, who was threatening to attack the Christians that were worshiping there. So it seems like an obvious FACE Act violation. But the Klan Act here, it is on screen. First time I've heard it mentioned. Can you unpack this for us, Harmeet?
Yeah, the Klan Act is one of the most important federal civil rights statutes, and it goes back to the time when President Lincoln emancipated the slaves, and yet the southern states, Dixiecrats mainly, were refusing to give them equal rights. And in fact, that you had sheriffs and you had law enforcement harassing the newly freed slaves. So the Klan Act is a law that makes it illegal to terrorize citizens, to violate their civil rights, to get together and conspire to violate the civil rights. It is often used against law enforcement, but is now used against others as well. So whenever anyone conspires to violate the protected civil rights of American citizens, the Klan Act can be used to bring a conspiracy charge. We, in the federal law enforcement parlance, call this 241 and 242 civil and criminal conspiracies. And so what the Biden administration did is, if three grandmas got together to pray outside an abortion clinic for the souls of the people inside, and including the unborn children, they would say, oh, that's not just a violation of the Klan Act, that's a conspiracy to violate the civil rights of women going in there to get abortions. And so we're going to add additional charges and punish that more and make it from a misdemeanor under the FACE Act to a felony under the Klan Act. And President Trump pardoned the pro-life protesters in those cases. I have recently defended successfully in the 11th Circuit a case called Oropesa, a case of Jane's Revenge, the pro-abortion protesters violently attacking crisis pregnancy centers in Florida. And we had the court uphold the Klan Act criminal enhancement to the FACE Act. So I know this is very deep in the weeds, but the point is, there are a number of things. The FACE Act is just the start. Like I said, you have material support for disruptive activities. You have conspiracy to violate civil rights. You have potentially the use of other instrumentalities to commit crimes. And so some of these folks who did this have self-identified. Don Lemon himself has come out and said he knew exactly what was going to happen inside that facility. He went into the facility and then he began, quote unquote, committing journalism. And as if that's sort of a shield from being an embedded part of a criminal conspiracy. It isn't. And so, we're getting our ducks in a row. We're putting the facts together. And this is a very serious matter. Come next Sunday, nobody should think in the United States that they're going to be able to get away with this. Everyone in the protest community needs to know that the fullest force of the federal government is going to come down and prevent this from happening and put people away for a long, long time.
All right. Here's my take. All right, obviously it's hilarious. It's hilarious. There's a part of me that kind of wants to root it on just because of the hilarity of it. And it is like, no one more deserving of such treatment than Don Lemon. Just a retard. I don't even know. Is he really deserving? He's so stupid that it's like, I don't even know if I can really attribute like evil to him. So it is like, I almost like, yeah, he should get in trouble, but Anyways, I don't know if I necessarily feel ill will towards the guy because he's just stupid. Kind of more the idea that like if somebody like in a legitimate, like say with someone with Down syndrome did something stupid, you just be like, there he is doing it again. I guess that's kind of how I feel at Don Lemon at this point. He's just a joke. Don Lemon's being a retard again. Look at him. So obviously this is trespassing, as I said before, and they should get in trouble for trespassing. But this whole nonsense, this weird KKK act, pulling some shit back from like 1871 or something, be like, oh, this is what we're going to use to go after enemies, seems a little ridiculous. This seems to be a continuation of the weaponization of government. This is the exact shit, conservatives are against. Things like, this is basically like the equivalent of like a hate crime. And I mean, not necessarily, but it's kind of like the idea of like an additional like emphasis, like an emphasis to some sort of crime. Like, oh, this is no longer just a misdemeanor misdemeanor trespassing. Now this is a felony KKK act because what's distinctly different about this? And it's funny that they bring up that this happened. I guess I forget the specifics of it. Something to do with like an abortion protest or something. And then Trump went and then pardoned those people. To which I don't know the particulars of that specific instance. I'd say if they were staying outside of the abortion clinic, if they weren't going inside and kind of doing the same thing the Don Lemon protesters did, then I'd be like, whatever, that's fine. Otherwise, I'd say the same thing that I'm saying about Don Lemon right now. That like, while I'm someone who actually I disagree with abortion, I think it's murder. I think that's definitely murder. I think it's funny. Like I am like a libertarian anarchist, whatever. But like, I'm okay with the idea of there being laws against murder. I mean, I don't know. I might be able to debate whether it's necessarily really necessary. But like, I'm not really like losing sleep over laws against murder. So when you see laws against so I am like generally pro-life, but at the same time, if we live in a society, there are rules. There are abortion clinics. I mean, there's a certain part of me that's like, oh, okay, I might give a little more leeway because it's like I kind of almost see it as like somewhat moral to fuck around with abortion clinics. But you still don't get a trespass. I still think that you don't think, at least not in the current understanding of this world, the current legal framework, you definitely don't get to do that. So. So I think they should have just got hit with trespassing. If they're trespassing, same thing here. This seems a continuation of the weaponization of government, which is, I know everyone tries to act, with immigration or this or that. You're like, oh, well, we got to do this big action now, and like disregard the second, third, fourth, fifth order effects, and how this makes everyone feel about this, despite the fact we're 100% going to get fucking obliterated in the midterms and almost certainly in 2028. Now, don't take that as any sort of me like really wishing either side, really. I'm just saying the irony of these people to be like pushing for these sort of things, continuing like, well, they fucked us, so we're going to fuck them super fucking hard. And it's like, well, you guys are like about to lose all of this. And funny enough, due to this instinct, this like, we're going to go so hard, we're going to fuck them over because they fucked us over. And it is just a race to the bottom. I know everyone's like, well, they did it to me, so I can do it to them. And you're like, okay. This is like, it's so dumb. Like all of this shit, you're just like, well, we're going to fucking fuck them. This is like having children. This is like every discussion I've had with my kids who are about 3 years apart. You're like, well, she did this. And then I'm like, okay, but like, yeah, that wasn't cool. And then you talk to them, I'm like, well, she did this. And you're like, yeah, that wasn't cool. But like, could you like not do that? You're like, no, I'm going to do that because she did this. And you're like, if one of you has to break the cycle, and like even if the other one continues being shitty, if at least one of you is not being shitty, that's progress. Yeah, you're literally just like especially with something like this, like a government situation, you are ushering in the group that is and giving the infrastructure to the group that is going to fuck you in the ass, like hardcore. And honestly, at this point, I'm kind of almost going to be over here just golf clapping along as the Democrats come in and fucking, try to go after all their enemies. Now, I'm sure we'll have the same, like, hey, you shouldn't charge this guy for that guy, this. But in a certain sense, most of these people are going to have deserved it, particularly with, I guess it depends on what they go after him for. I can almost guarantee they'll fucking fumble the ball and they'll go after him for dumb shit when in fact they should have gone him for the other thing. Kind of like with Trump, like what did they go for him in the first go around? Like Russian collusion or some dumb shit. And you're like, of all the things you can get them on, hopefully this time around they'll have a little bit more, better head on their shoulders and go a little bit harder in the paint on them. or at least go after legit stuff. But all right, let's check into Don Lemon's response to all this. Here's him. Oh, dang it! Give me a second. Let me set this back up because StreamYard sucks. Here we go. We're back. All right, let's watch this.
And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy. And they think that this country was built for them, that it is a Christian country, when actually we left England because we wanted religious freedom. It's religious freedom, but only if you're a Christian and only if you're a white male, pretty much. And so, yeah, I absolutely 100%, but it's an intimidation tactic. And, I said, I don't understand how I become the face of it when I was a journalist. I do understand that I'm the biggest name there. And I'm also, as I was on with my producers this morning, you and Kylie talk all the time. My producers were saying, I said, how did I become the face of this? And my producer said, Don, you're a gay black man in America. And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice.
Oh, I didn't realize it repeated there. Okay, well, it's we're blaming the Christians, despite the fact, as I said, this literally has nothing to do with the real. If you really look at this, and you're being not a fucking idiot, and early, kind of both sides are missing this because they're focusing in on like, oh, this is a place of worship. This, and yeah, it makes it kind of scummy. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, it's private property. You can't just take a mob into private property and go fucking harass everyone within such private property. That's the whole premise of private property. So, kind of missing the point. Both sides, really, when it comes to honing in on the religious side. He's saying, freedom of religion, but only for Christians. You're like, that's not even the fucking point. Not even the point. So, yeah. Moving on, let's check in on this. Here's another response of his. And then we'll read an article, maybe give us a little bit more context that we might be missing.
The MAGA administration and the fake news MAGAs are losing their mind over something that's not even true. So let me just make it clear, because this assistant attorney general, I don't know, what's her name? Something Hammett.
By the way, sorry, I made a really gross snotty noise. I totally thought I muted, and I looked over at StreamYard, and it wasn't muted. So sorry, that was gross. Let's keep going.
Dylan, or whatever. So, I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests. Once the protests started in the church, we did an act of journalism, which was report on it and talk to the people who were involved, which included the pastor, members of the church, and members of the organization. That's it. It's called journalism. First Amendment, all that stuff. For all of you people who believe in the First Amendment, absolutist, there you go. So why don't you talk to the actual person who is in charge of the organization and whose idea it was to have the protests at the church before you start blaming me for stuff for which I have no idea.
All right, now to that, I'll say actually he's got a bit of a point. Now I will say, I think in one of those clips we saw that he said, we'd like you to leave unless you're here to worship or whatever, like unless you're here to perch, and then he gave some stupid like, I'm always worshiping. Like, no, that was a very clear get the fuck out. That was the most polite get the fuck out you possibly could get, unless you want to sit down and be quiet and listen to me preach. And that's not what Don Lemon was there to do. So I would say at that point, yes, he's trespassing. Before that, maybe not. I mean, let's be real. I guarantee you these protesters were probably asked to leave by the pastor. So, yes, I will say Don Lemon, he actually may have, while I did think it was a little weird, I mean, the fact that he was, like, clearly trying to stump so hard for these people, like, I don't think he technically was part of the protest. He wasn't leading it. And he did just walk into a church and document something that was occurring. So, while I do think he's retarded, I think he has a point here. I think I don't know that until the point he was told to leave, I don't know if he necessarily did anything wrong. Obviously, his takes throughout were fucking stupid. Stuff like, this is what protesting's all about, traumatizing people. You're like, whoa, what a weird takeaway for what protesting should be, if you even believe in that. I don't think it's necessarily to traumatize people that, could possibly end up being on your side. I don't really feel like that helps. But yeah, I will say he's got a little bit of a point. I think this is a little retarded. All of this is retarded. And it's kind of giving the best possible W you really could give to the Trump administration right now. I mean, man, it makes you almost wonder, is the Trump administration paying Lemon? I don't know. All right, let's roll through chat, and then we'll get into our next story, Florida attacking the 1A. Comment Mama, we got super chats galore in here. It says, we need a kitty cam for $2. I actually have a kitty cam right now, but I don't know if I would be able to link it up. Also, I don't know if I'd want to do that. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe one day. Maybe. Who else we got in here? Boomer says, my take is that Don was asked to leave private property. Boom. Exactly. Yep. It's simple, easy peasy. Up until now, I will say the majority of stuff people are upset about, he technically wasn't. Now, once he interviewed the pastor and it was like, basically was like, if you leave, I needed to leave unless you're here to worship. At that point, yeah, you should leave. Fire Pixie says, I saw the video and it sure seemed like it was part of it. It does seem like it, especially he's going to great lengths to try to essentially, I don't know, stump for them, be like, I mean, even if he isn't related, you'd think he would be not retarded enough to realize, like, oh, this is a mob of people violating private property. And, like, yeah, you could document on it, but you'd think you would, like, report on it from that angle of, like, oh, this is a group that protests, has now crossed the line and is now in a private, in this private property area. They've been asked to leave, yada yada. Not like making weird excuses for them, but yeah. Uncle Ted, here's Fed jacketing again. I guess he's saying Jesse is the NSA Los Mossad who funded Inslaw's entire lawsuit so they could steal the promised software. I mean, if you want to find me sources on this stuff, that's great. But I've seen you talk about a lot of this stuff, and I've even asked you for, like, I mean, if you find source, I'm down to read whatever. But I don't know. You're just kind of asserting stuff. I don't know where you're getting this idea that Jesse's somehow involved in this stuff. Maybe he is. Maybe he's not. I don't know. Qbert saying what I can't right now. Thank you, brother. What else we got in here? Marty say Don Lemon's King Cuck. Fire Pixie says, I saw the video of them getting ready to go into the church. Well, maybe I didn't see that one. Maybe there was something. Maybe there's something in there that would make me more convinced he was actually legitimately part of the protest. I get why people get the vibes, though, because he's like once again, going out of his way to, like, stump for him. Weird. Good morning, Shannon Jones. Saying late, nice to see you. Nice to see you, too. Uncle Ted says, protesting only gets co-opted by provocateurs. It sure does seem that way. That's why it's kind of stupid. I think it's dumb. Fire Pixie says, infringes upon religious freedom. Not to mention those people might have thought it was a shooting. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, definitely not cool. Good morning. Whoop my baby mama ho ass. Please don't push me is low. Faggot energy for sure. Yeah, I think even when he did the don't push me thing, I mean, I don't have the video up anymore, but you guys go check it out on your own. I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly, like Don Lemon, like, kind of put his arm on him, to do this almost like he's trying to be friendly, or like, kind of like, it's almost like this, like, rules of power, or not even rules of power, but it's like kind of a soft touch on someone, kind of, breaks the barriers. He's trying to make this confrontational thing less confrontational, but he is putting his hand on someone. It is odd. And then the guy, if I recall correctly, I think he actually pushes his hand off of him, kind of like, don't touch me. And that's when Don Lemon gets like, don't push me. You're like, yeah, but your hand's on him. Once again, not understanding the concept of property rights. You own yourself, and if someone else puts their body on you, and you go, get the fuck off, that's not you aggressive. The initial aggression was them. I mean, obviously, a light hand on the shoulder is a little bit weird to call an aggression, but it was unwanted, at least. Rights Liberty says the right to protest does not override private property rights or water rights. Damn sure. No commies up in here. Let me see. What else we got? Boop, 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 do. Good morning, Daz. Says evening. Thought you were working. I thought I was too. I ended up not, looking, seeing if there's any shifts available because, as I told you, I have like a bunch of those kitties, and I was like, I've been, with as many of them, it's a lot harder to make sure they're, growing properly and stuff. And so I wanted to take another day off to be able to keep an eye on them. So whatever, worked out for you guys. I had a large investment I had to take care of, and then a really cute investment. And so I want to make sure those fuckers live. So, Whoops says putting Don Lemon in prison is an actual punishment. It's like going to a theme park of your choice. Yeah. Martin saying anything Abraham Lincoln did, I don't trust. I'm pretty sure everything we've ever been told about him is a lie. Yeah, you're probably correct. Whoop says, I'm assuming that means Renee Good saying she wasn't killed. That shit was fake. Yeah, I mean, there's some funny angles for the fake things. Let me see what else we got. Boop 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 doo. Good morning, Ikenba. I don't know what you're saying. Yikes, too. But good morning. Nice to see you here. Good morning, Tillispook. Good morning. Good morning. Catching up. Yeah, everyone's saying Don Lemon would joy prison. Yada 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 yada. Let me see. Catching up in the chat. Man, you guys. Oh, Gracefully Green. Good to see you here. Says I like how the gay dude is being interviewed by a Satanist. Oh, is that is the blonde chick a Satanist? Aggressively agreeing? Like, I've seen her in other stuff. She's kind of like an annoying liberal woman. Like, I mean, I've watched a couple of her videos, and like, whatever. If it's something I agree with her on, it is like I do like it because she's like animated. But it's like if it's something you don't, I mean, you're like, oh God, you're insufferable. And even when she does agree with you, you're like, you're kind of insufferable too. But I didn't know she's. If that's the case, let me know. Let me see. Mega Nerd says, I heard using a shot collar to make sure the cat stays on camera for max profits is a meta. Yeah, that's funny. That's for those who aren't aware, that's a reference to what was it, Hassan Piker? There was a whole controversy about him shocking his dog because I guess his dog would he'd literally have it like almost like it was an ornament for his streams. Like it would be in the back, I'm trying to put my hand here so you guys see it. Whatever. Imagine there's like a dog bed back here, and I kept my dog. You could imagine the same thing with my cats, and I just kept them back here to where they were visible on the stream. And apparently had a shot collar thing in his hand. And like anytime he would try to get up, he would like shock it so that it couldn't. And I guess some internet sleuths picked up on that. I don't know if he admitted to it initially, or if I think people just noticed that, like, for one, people just picked up, why is this dog always here? And I think some people saw the movement of like when it went to move and then laying back down. So that thing, while everyone's like, oh, look at the cute puppy being so well behaved, sitting back there. No, it's being like it's feared for its life. It's not moving at all. So, let me see. You saying Jesse was IBM's promise lawyer? Says Uncle Ted. If that's the case, I would love to see the receipt on that. I mean, I don't really know how to look that up myself. I don't really know, like, what is. Perhaps he was. I thought he was like a sports lawyer. So I don't know where you're getting this from. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean. Once again, find me some sort of source. I'll be like, whoa, okay, shit, you're right. What else we got? Good morning, Northside. Said Jose selling that hairless pussy again. Yeah, this is a free pimp game. You should probably be writing this down. Yeah, guys, write this shit down. I'm giving you tips. So, Aggressively Gring says if she's not a Satanist, she's definitely anti-Christian. Okay, I mean, all right, well, that's a little bit different. You're just saying she's just, once again, kind of an annoying liberal is what it sounds like to me. Good morning, user Chedhead. Good morning. Let me see. Noma12N. Oh, it's just saying good morning to you. 5 easy ways to learn $30 to $50 a day from home. Rise to Liberty says, I've been tossing around in my noodle is that I think Don Lemon could have been fired from CNN so he could work as a CIA contractor, a literal Mockingbird agent. I mean, this is almost like too perfect. And you're like, how are you this fuck? I mean, maybe it's like the equivalent of like any of you guys heard the Star Wars Jar Jar Binks is like Darth Plagueis or like the master Sith behind it all. Like that's what this theory feels like. Although it sounds retarded, both of them do, but when you dig into it more, you go, oh shit. Like you're like, once you start to scratch the surface of Jar Jar Binks was like the main Sith, or he was some pervasive like Darth Plagueis or whatever in the sequels, and you're like, it could have been. I mean, you look at like, I just watched episode 1 with my daughter recently, and it's like, you see all the ridiculous hijinks that, Jar Jar gets into, just kind of all over the place, but somehow everything magically works out for him. Is like, does this motherfucker have the Force? How is everything working out perfectly for him? It's like he's weaponized retardation, which is, frankly, exactly what Don Lemon seems to do. It's like unbelievable he's this stupid. There we go. Uncle Ted says, if you read the Inslaw lawsuits, everything is in it. Ramses, Finders, Jesse, everything. And he's saying the Unabomber wasn't a crazy guy in the woods blowing people up. It was cover for them to kill witnesses called to testify in the Inslaw lawsuits. Okay, well, I mean, I guess I can just somewhat take your word for it. Obviously, I don't necessarily, but I gotta see. You're gonna have to show me. I don't know if you're on any platforms that I'm on that you can send this stuff to me, but I would love to see this. If you find screenshots, whatever. I'll be honest, I'm not gonna go dig through IBM lawsuits to verify all this stuff today, or maybe if I think of it on my spare time, which I probably won't. But yes, please, always feel free to send me over sources for stuff like this. So maybe you're correct. I thought he was some sort of sports lawyer, so I don't know. I didn't realize he did anything political before, Jesse. Rise Liberty says a Mockingbird agent doesn't need to be smart, only effective. However, just smart enough to follow orders and not ask questions. Aggressively agreeing, I said that woman's openly mocked Christianity by being said annoying leftist. Okay, all right. Trust me, bro. Okay, well, all right. Let's go ahead and get into the next story of today. Get into Florida coming after the First Amendment. Let's check this out. A little bit concerning, considering I am in Florida. So luckily, this is like a Miami thing, it seems to be mostly, but either way, still concerning. So let's watch this. This should explain a lot of this for you.
Picture to make sure it's you. We're not sure.
Okay.
Is that your account?
Actually, let me preface this a little bit. Actually, I figured it might give you. Apparently, there's apparently the Miami Beach police are going door to door, asking American citizens about social media posts that are clearly protected under the First Amendment. Now, I've heard people saying door to door. I don't know about that. I haven't seen anything other than one video, but this is more than enough. So I don't know how many people are actually being targeted by this, but we have at least one video of someone that is being confronted by the Miami Beach police about posts they made online, and it's not even really that hardcore, like at all. So, all right, let's watch this clip of this of said person being harassed by the police.
Picture to make sure it's you. We're not sure.
Okay.
Is that your account?
I refuse to answer questions without my lawyer present. So I really don't know how to answer that question either.
Well, like I said, you're not.
This is freedom of speech. This is America, right? Veteran.
All right. And I agree with you 100%. We're just trying to see if it's you, because if we're not talking to the right person, we want to go see who the right person is.
Okay, how can I help you?
So pretty much it's just a statement that was made as far as
verbatim, it says the guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians tried to shut down a theater for showing a movie that hurt his feelings and refuses to stand up for the LGBTQ community in any way. Even leaves the room when they vote and on related matters. Wants you to know that you're all welcome. Clown face, clown face, clown face. 3 days ago.
So you don't know if it was you?
I'm not going to answer whether that's me or not.
Okay.
The concerning part, and not concerning for the person who's posting it, what we're just trying to prevent is somebody else getting agitated or agreeing with the statement. We're not saying it's true or not.
Understood.
That guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians, that can probably incite somebody to do something radical. That's all we're here to talk about. And we wanted to get your side if it was you that posted that. I would think to refrain from posting things like that, because that could get something
I appreciate your concern. I appreciate you coming out here.
Okay, that's it.
That is it.
Okay.
I'm going to maintain my my amendment rights to not answer the question about whether that's. I hope that's understandable.
We appreciate it.
Thank you as well. You as well. Thank you. Take care.
You don't have the right to harm other people.
I don't know what that guy's in there for at the end, but anyways, by the way, guys, just don't fucking answer the door for cops. Like, unless, like, if you see, just go, do you have a warrant? And then if they go, no, then go, fuck off. The end. So just saying, best way to get rid of cops, fuck off. Do you have a warrant? No? Okay, fuck off. And but yeah, I don't know. I kind of get the curiosity, wanting to talk to them. Why are they here? But generally speaking, tell them to fuck off. All right, let's look at this clip, the actual tweet. Let's see if we can see it. Boom. Let's see. All right, let's see. Says the guy. This is in response to. I don't know if this is. Now they show on here. They show a tweet from Randy Fine. Now, or maybe tweet about. So it's confusing. So I don't know if they're saying that this is what they're responding to, but that it kind of implies that this is the case, or at the very least gives you more context of who this is. Because once again, I'm looking at this right here, and that looks like pretty sure that's Facebook on the right. But then the left, you can tell by like the @ and stuff. I'm pretty sure that's Twitter. I think, right? Unless like that's maybe I'm retarded. And I'm looking at it. I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's Twitter. That's totally Twitter. And so either way, I think maybe this is what they're responding to, but if not, whatever. This colors the context. Shows made a secret trip to Jerusalem, Randy Fine tweeting this, with Representative Mike Caruso to deliver Governor Ron DeSantis HB 269, the strongest anti-Semitism bill in the United States. Oh, I know what this is. I'm retarded. The tweet that they're referring to here is Mr. Guns and Gear, who shared this, said Florida passed an unconstitutional hate speech law in 2023 that was signed into law by Governor DeSantis in Israel. So what they're showing here on the left here is that being passed. This is Randy Fine tweeting about it, saying he went with Representative Mike Caruso to deliver Governor Ron DeSantis HB 269, the strongest anti-Semitism bill in the United States. To Florida's Nazi thugs, I have news. Attack Jews on their property and you're going to prison. Never again means never again. So passing anti-Semitism laws. So that's the connection here, which we'll go over a few more of those in a second. But here's the tweet in question. Says the guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians tried to shut down a theater for showing a movie that hurt his feelings and refuses to stand up for the LGBT community in any way, even leaves the room when they vote on related matters, wants you to know they're all welcome here, that you're all welcome here. And so then the thing they honed in on is that he calls for the death of Palestinians, or he consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians, which I don't know if it's necessarily true about this guy, but either way, that's still clearly First Amendment protected stuff. Now, who they're referring to is the Miami Beach mayor, who's Stephen Miner, is who apparently this is actually who it was from. Apparently, even a complaint originated from the mayor's office is what led to this. So this was Stephen Miner. Let me show you an image of this guy so you can see what this goofball looks like. Here you go. This is not fake. This is really what this dude looks like. I mean, come on. He literally, referencing episode 1 again. What was it? God, how can I not think of his name? Who's the guy who owned Anakin? It's not Greedo. The fuck? Why can't I think of his name? But that's really bugging me. Who owned Anakin Skywalker? I'm gonna look this up now. I know this is for a stupid reference I'm making here, but I gotta know now. Who is it? The fuck? Whatever. Watto. There you go. All right, Watto, the weird little flying, weird bug-looking thing. That's what this guy literally looks like. He looks like Watto from episode 1. Yes, this is the guy upset and sending the Miami Beach on to people. Well, let's dig a little bit deeper into some of these other laws that have been passed. Apparently passed more since then. They passed a public nuisances bill, which was signed in Israel in April 2023. This legislation makes it a felony for hate groups to harass individuals based on their religion or ethnicity. So it's a felony to harass Jews now. Key provisions it specifically targets the distribution of anti-Semitic flyers on private property, which, okay, fair enough. Can't do it on private property, but I mean, you don't need to do these additional things. It's already on private property. You can just say trespassing, not allowed, yada, yada. Prohibits littering, graffiti, or blocking access to religious institutions. HB 1109, school security, also effective July 1st, 2024. This bill provides funding for security hardening, cameras, lighting, fencing at Jewish day schools and preschools. Oh, great. So they're giving more money to the Jews. Anti-BDS legislation. Florida has enacted and continues to strengthen laws prohibiting the state from contracting with companies that boycott Israel. So now they're once again making it, making it illegal to boycott, which is literally just, withholding your money. You would think you'd just be allowed to do that. We also got HB 187, definition of anti-Semitism, signed by DeSantis in June 24, effective July 1st, 2024. This law officially adopts the IHRC, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's working definition of anti-Semitism into Florida law, which, by the way, I would recommend checking out. Coming to, is it Jerusalem or Coming to Israel? I think it might be Coming to Jerusalem by Sheldon Richman. He has a whole piece within that book because it's kind of a collection of essays. It's a great starting point for those who really want to get start learning more about the whole Israel issue and kind of how these things affect us domestically as well. And he has a whole chapter that goes into the IHRC, a working definition of anti-Semitism. Like, this is essentially what they've, I believe it's even federally now, that's the case, that they've been able to ham-fist that in. And this is the definition that kind of vaguely includes dual loyalty as anti-Semitism. It also includes things like, what else? Essentially criticisms of Israel as like, essentially, if you're saying I'm anti-Zionist by the IHRC definition, you would be IHRA definition. I mean, you would be considered anti-Semitic, which would be illegal in many circumstances. This codifies the definition to assist in monitoring and reporting hate crimes, discrimination. It includes examples such as calling for the harm of Jewish people, Holocaust denial. See, now that's anti-Semitism. Isn't that funny? And applying double standards to Israel by requiring behavior not expected of other democratic nations. See how ambiguous that is? It also aims to prohibit the use of taxpayer funds for programs or institutions that engage in anti-Semitic hate speech. So now this will be their way to preclude people from receiving funds if they feel like by these vague definitions they're somehow anti-Semitic. See how this game is played. And wouldn't you guys know it? You guys are going to be super surprised to learn this, but the mayor of Miami Beach and the county mayor of Miami are both Jewish. Isn't that funny? And let's be real, DeSantis is a nice little Shabbos goy. You know, he does his job as he's supposed to. He does all the things. But all right, guys, let's roll through the chat, and then we'll get into the last segment, which is kind of a grab bag of different Fed stuff. Let's check in on you guys, see what you guys got to say. Here's Rise saying, I've heard rumors of Uncle Ted being framed, but extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. I'm open to it, but I need substance. Yeah. Yep. Good more. Ride to Liberty says, also always record police interactions and never speak to them. Record and shut the fuck up. Yep. Someone says, I need to see a Jeremy Kaufman ending to that video. Yeah, it would be pretty good. She should have just started screaming the lyrics of Heil Hitler, says Cultural Swine Media. Yeah, that'd be a good way to go with that one. Did we lose Uncle Ted? Everyone's asking questions in the chat. I won't try to be mean. Here's a Rise. Oh, great idea, Uncle Ted. He says, why don't you call into Already Dead tonight? Or why don't we set up a time for you to come on a Jose show or my show? This is not trying to control your schedule, Jose. Maybe we could dual cast. Yeah, I mean, either way, I'm fine with whatever. You can go on his show, my show. I would totally be down to talk to you about this stuff. I would be totally down to bring you on the show to talk. Usually, either it's like, I will reserve like episodes for patrons. Like I'll do episodes with them, or I might do, or obviously people that I'm want to do, but like I'm genuinely interested in all the claims that you make frequently in the chat, Uncle Ted. So I would love to have you on the show, or you can call into Already Dead. I can tell you it's at 9:30 p.m. Eastern tonight. So call in about 8 hours at 1-833-722-DEAD. That's 1-833-722-3323. So call in. I would love to hear all of this. Damn it. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I lost my spot for a second. But yeah, definitely call in. So that'd be great. Boomer says Austin should move to Florida. Sometimes I worry about safety. That's an odd thing to say given the circumstance. Yes, I mean Austin's in Cali, so that's probably way worse. But I mean, given the last segment was that, I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to get Austin over here. We'll see. Maybe one day. Hey, say what now? Good morning. It says Coming to Palestine. Why did I think it was Jerusalem or Israel? I'm retarded. Coming to Palestine by Sheldon Richman. Yes, that you are correct. Hey, say what now? Let me see. Yeah, right. Mega Nerd says anti-Semitism flyers means whatever they want. If people started putting a blank white piece of paper up, there would be a felony anti-Semitism. Yeah, it sure seems that way. All right, let's go ahead and get into the last segment of the day. We'll lead it off with some Candace goofiness. I feel like it kind of properly sets the stage for this segment. Talking Fed foolishness. So we'll lead off with Candace. Obviously, I don't know if she's a Fed or not, but just being a little facetious here, having a little fun with it. I figured I'd find that we talked a little bit about the fact that Charlie Kirk apparently had superpowers. So let's hear Candace talk about that.
Why did Charlie think he was a time traveler? He said, as I showed you in earlier messages, that he was a time traveler and he had to find me. Is that just something people are saying to their homies in text messages? And again, not anything that I would have placed so much emphasis on back when he was saying it, but it came to fruition. The other parts, he did die young. Why did he think that him dying young was necessary in order to change things? He did die young. It is related to Turning Point USA. In some way or another, at the very least, we can all agree it's related to him speaking at a campus event for Turning Point USA. I'm totally occupied by this. I tell you, I read these messages and I'm going, what is this? What is reality, actually? And Charlie died. Yes, like I said, it was related to this organization. And I think we would all agree that his death and the manner that they did it changed the world in ways that I don't think we can fully realize, or certainly not in a way that I can articulate. You just cannot pretend that all of this is one big unhappy coincidence. It's entirely plausible, I think plausible, that they knew something about Charlie. And that's why they had him marked and had him monitored and had him likely followed since he was young. And maybe they thought, like the agents think, that if they swarmed him and they stayed with him and they pretended to be his friend, that ultimately they could control Charlie and perhaps change an outcome. They could literally change an outcome related to Charlie. So when for the first time in his life, because I do believe he was managed, I mean, I've already said I was handled. I didn't recognize that I had agents. And for the first time in his life, Charlie peeks his head up and starts to push back in a meaningful way. You couldn't stop him from becoming bigger. That seemed to be inevitable. But they panicked. They seem to have panicked, right? I mean, this is just starting to happen within a year when Charlie's going like, hey, man, I don't actually think this. I don't actually believe this. And then he goes, you know what? Take the money. Take the money out of the organization. And they panicked. They freaked out. And their solution was, no, just kill him. Just kill him.
All right. So she's not fooling around. I think she's literally, I don't think she's goofing. I think she literally thinks he's a fucking time traveler. All right. Well, seems related. But apparently this is a dialectic that is being formed. Apparently we've now reached the point where people are receiving cease and desists for their coverage of the TPUSA stuff, which once again, I want to be very clear. I think TPUSA is probably into some shenanigans, doing some weird stuff. But once again, two dialectics, how these things works. It's like, problem, action, whatever the fuck, that whole thing. Here we are. We have these dynamics playing off each other. We have the Fuentes, you see how he's been playing things lately, kind of throwing lots of shade on some conspiratorial things. And then you have the perfect foil for that, Candace out there kind of being the raving retard saying crazy shit. With basically no fucking, with no sources, no nothing, no receipts she supposedly has or tend to be wanting or ridiculous, and now we have reached a point to where legal action has started, and it I don't know. Let's watch a bit of this. I'm not gonna watch the whole thing, but we'll put this on like a quicker speed. And this is Wolves in Finance. It says this person's receiving a legal threat from the TPUSA.
This week, I received a letter from Turning Point titled Demand to Cease and Desist Defamatory Comments. This is the first step when someone sues you for defamation. I know there are a lot of people out there making videos about Turning Point, so you should pay attention to this. They have started sending out cease and desist letters, and for some reason, they've decided to start with me. Apparently, they cannot handle the criticism from my teeny tiny YouTube channel. This letter is showing the world the type of organization Turning Point has become under Erica Kirk. They want to send legal letters to small YouTube creators. So we're going to go through this letter. And by the way, if any of you know a good lawyer in Arizona that handles defamation cases, have them send me an email through my website because I'm looking for a lawyer. Turning Point states in the letter, Turning Point entities are not looking for litigation, rather their interest is in the truth and making sure the public record is accurate. So they are claiming they do not want to sue me. But I view this letter as a threat to sue, and I think any reasonable business person would do the same. A cease and desist letter is the first step towards a defamation lawsuit. I interpret this letter as Turning Point telling me to shut my mouth or they're going to sue me. I do not understand what IYKYK is doing. Out of the hundreds of people posting on social media about Turning Point, why are they targeting me? Why are they so worried about what I am saying that they're sending me legal letters? I am one of the smallest YouTube channels in my market segment. Who do they think I am? I'm a working accountant with a small YouTube channel. I have no money. I have no power. I have no influence. I don't know how much money they think they're going to get from suing me. All I have is the truth.
By the way, this is totally, I've seen this guy, I feel like I've seen him somewhere. This is totally an AI person they use for these, just so you know.
And I'm not going to stop speaking the truth because IYKYK doesn't like it. The one good thing about a lawsuit is that everything will be out in the open, and Turning Point will quickly find out that I have nothing to hide. The letter came from a lawyer named Paul Edgar Harold from South Bend, Indiana. It seems like this is Turning Point's lawyer. I looked him up, and I cannot find that he has been admitted to the State Bar of Arizona in order to practice law in Arizona, so I'm not exactly sure how he's going to sue me in Arizona, but maybe he's working with other lawyers. In the letter, they order me to, please confirm that you will publicly correct your false statements immediately. This is not what I was going to talk about this week, but Turning Point is demanding that I communicate their statements publicly. So here we go. They include a whole list of statements they claim are false that I have made in my videos about Turning Point. Now, I'm not interested in spreading false information. So I'm glad that Turning Point reached out to me because if I said something wrong, I am happy to correct it. So let us go through the statements where they have a problem. And you're going to want to hear this because some of these are wild. On November 16th, I posted a video called Bombshell, Did Turning Point USA Commit Fraud? They say these are false claims. Charlie Kirk ordered a Doge-style audit that was never conducted. Here's my first problem with this letter. They do not include the actual quote that I said in the video. This is a paraphrased statement of what I said, and they are saying that the paraphrased statement is a lie. You have to tell me exactly what I said that was supposedly a lie, and they do this through the whole letter. So my request to this lawyer in future letters, because I'm assuming there's going to be more, please include the actual quote that I said so that I can respond to your accusation. But I'm going to at least try to interpret what they're saying. I spoke in my video about a memo that Charlie Kirk wrote 8 days before he was murdered. In the cease and desist letter, they say, indeed, Turning Point USA's COO announcement concerning the Doge effort never used the word audit. So this is breaking news. Turning Point's attorney has now confirmed that the Charlie Kirk memo is authentic. We now have legal confirmation this did happen. It seems like their problem with my video is that I called it a Doge audit, when in the memo it is written as Doge effort. So they want everyone to use the word effort and not use the word audit. This letter is seriously hurting my head. Whatever word you use, the memo is clearly talking about an evaluation of Turning Point. But we cannot use the word audit. We have to call it an effort.
Okay, you guys get the idea. We're not going to watch this full video. You guys go watch this over at Wolves in Finance and watch the full 20-minute video. But we kind of get the idea. We get the vibe here. They're going after him for what seems to be incredibly petty stuff, and you got to think as I don't know, as foolish as some of the stuff that people are talking about out there. They could go nuts with it. So it is a little bit weird. They went after someone who's actually seemingly getting in the specifics, and it is honing in on the. It seems like this is a finance guy. They're honing in on the financial aspect of it, which is interesting concerning other lawyers they've hired. Here's a Noxie at Noxie Love, which some 20,000 follower account on Twitter. So hey, take that to whatever degree you're willing to take it. It says with all the news that TPUSA's financial inconsistencies, from dark money donor issues in Arizona to this current video by Wolves in Finance, I find it interesting that IYKYK hired Jeffrey A. Nyman as a former DOJ prosecutor who crushed the Swiss corporation Credit Suisse Services, where the AG pled guilty to conspiring to hide more than $4 billion from the IRS in at least 475 offshore accounts and has worked massive tax evasion cases. He has now switched sides to defense with his new firm launched in August 2025. He'd know exactly how to defend against probes or even hide vulnerabilities in complex financial setups. Why is IYKYK using a heavy hitter tax/white-collar defense attorney to represent her? Which, let me see. They showed some document here. Let's see. Trying to see if this guy's in here somewhere. Okay, this is who they hired for the attorney for the victim, which is interesting since this is actually in the Robinson versus state of Utah. So this is actually a lawyer that they're using for the actual case, for the Robinson case. For those who aren't aware, for some reason, I don't know enough about the legal ins and outs, but Erica was designated, we covered this a while ago, she's designated as a victim representative, so she's actually like a person, of interest, I guess, in the case. She's, I guess, kind of de facto, sort of like the defense or the victim. Not the defense, the victim, because usually there's a victim present, but if you're murdered, there is no victim present. So I guess she gets to be the representative. Not really entirely sure what legal, reasons they would have for that, but whatever. But this is the lawyer she got for it. Was some high-powered tax lawyer, which seems interesting. Moving on, checking into other weird Fed stuff. A little bit of a blast from the past, but I feel like it's relevant today. Considering all the stuff going on in the streets of Minneapolis. We're seeing a resurgence of Black Panthers. It's a little bit of a blast in the past. Ken Silva says, you may know that an FBI informant was involved in the assassination of Black Panthers leader Fred Hampton. But did you know that the informant reportedly offed himself the night before an interview he gave was set to air? He reportedly ran into traffic on purpose. Interesting how that works. I probably should have had prepared maybe a short little look into the FBI allegedly killing MLK, because we had that yesterday. But yeah, let's be real. Fuck MLK. He sucks. Fucking X is where it's at, baby. X gonna give it to you. So yes, we're going to hone more in on the Black Panthers here. So let's read this piece right now. January 18th, 1990, Panther informant William O'Neill's death ruled suicide. The mysterious and once perilous life of William O'Neill, 40, a key federal government informant who infiltrated the Black Panthers in the late 1960s, ended in Maywood earlier this week when he was struck by a car on the Eisenhower Expressway, police said. The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office ruled O'Neill's death a suicide. O'Neill was living under the name of William Hart, at least the second pseudonym he'd used in the last 17 years. Began a life of crime as a car thief on Chicago's West Side and then worked undercover for the FBI before being whisked into the Federal Witness Program in 1973. That life, still shrouded in secrecy, ended when O'Neill apparently walked in front of a speeding car, officials said. With a husky voice and a sense of the theatrical, O'Neill was part moxie, part bravado, part con man, and one of the most extraordinary informants developed in Chicago by the FBI. O'Neill's death brought public and private expressions of shock from friends, relatives, and law enforcement officials. He was always a mysterious guy, one official knew him well. He could play all the roles, every part the FBI agents needed. I think he never got out of his system and was confused. In 1984, he was living in Cali under an assumed name, but about 4 years ago, he moved back to the Chicago area. He made some attempts to contact acquaintances, but he kept mostly to himself, friends said. But on an upcoming episode of the public television series Eyes on the Prize, which is scheduled to be broadcast in Chicago next month, O'Neill discussed the ambivalence he felt about his actions. In the film, he said he felt very bad about his role in infiltrating the Panthers. He felt remorse about the deaths, but he felt the Panthers were a threat. He seems to have thought about himself as a law enforcement person, said a member of the series production staff. Makes you wonder if we got this going on again. There was always some risk to him going on camera and doing this, the staff member said. He was very cautious about the interview. He said he had to be careful. Bill Hampton, brother of the slain Panther leader, speculated Wednesday that guilt over his role as an FBI informant sparked the suicide. The act he committed was unjust and ignorant, Hampton said. It's something he tried to live with and couldn't. The end of his informant work left him restless, but without remorse, he said in 1984, if you ask me if the gains outweigh the losses, I think so. He said then, I think if I look back at myself, I say if I'd never met Mitchell, I would probably be in jail or dead. If you ask me if I'm a happy man, I'm not happy. No, I'm not even content. 4 years ago, according to relatives and friends, he returned to the Chicago area. He and his first wife had parted when life in the witness protection program became too strained, one acquaintance recalled Wednesday. He remarried in Cali and then moved back to Chicago with his wife. He's also survived by a 5-month-old son. Till recently, he worked for an attorney in downtown Chicago. He was working for the lawyer up until 3 weeks ago, but he and the lawyer had a falling out about something. On Saturday, he went to his uncle's residence in Maywood where he relaxed and watched television. That's where it ends, but that gives you the majority of what you need to know here. And then let's pop in on actually 1 second. I gotta bring it up and bring it down and bring it back up again because of course StreamYard sucks. Your regular reminder that StreamYard sucks ass. So let's bring this up. Give me 1 second. Check this video out. A little bit of digging into the pipe bomber story again, seeing what Fed tomfoolery is occurring there. Let's watch this clip.
Fox 5 exclusive. For the first time, we are hearing from the lawyers representing accused pipe bomber Brian Cole Jr.
It was a wide-ranging interview today with our Katie Barlow, who's here now with the latest on this one. Katie.
Cole's lawyer, Mario Williams, says Cole voted for Trump twice before he was arrested and charged with interstate transportation of explosive devices and a malicious attempt to use explosive devices. And he was arrested back in December. He's now pleaded not guilty to both charges. Williams also says he believes the president's pardon for all January 6 defendants applies to Cole. The lawyers are planning to make a filing with the court soon, laying out that argument that the pardon applies.
Judge called this a January 6th adjacent case during the hearing. Do you agree with that?
For purposes of the pardon, I absolutely agree with it.
What do you mean?
I do got a comment. This guy like the original guy looks like Norbit. Look at his lawyer. It's like they're messing with us. Like they're trying to pick like weird, stereotypical, like African American type, like somebody being a sicko. I don't know. Something about him just reminds me like this goofy, like perfectly lined up. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Something about him just off. I just find it funny you pair him. He's the lawyer for the Norbit looking dude. I don't know. Something about his, like they're getting ready for a movie or something. Let's watch this.
So I think you have to employ some kind of common sense as applied to the allegations. So if the allegations are that he went out there and he set down these components and that they were found on January 6th, the judge says that it's a part of January 6th. The pardon says that you're allowed to get a pardon for everything related to the events that occurred on or at the Capitol on January 6th. Like I said, we're going to talk about that at a later date, but I do believe that.
Sounds like you believe it's a strong argument he should get pardoned.
100%.
Text of Trump's pardon is broad. It says the president will grant a full, complete, and unconditional pardon to all other individuals convicted of offenses related to events that occurred at or near the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021. The government says Cole confessed to making the homemade devices and walked investigators through how he built them before driving to Washington, D.C. and placing them outside the RNC and DNC headquarters the night before Congress certified Joe Biden's victory. When the government put details of what they call Cole's confession in a public filing, Cole's lawyers demanded to see the evidence of the confession. Williams says he's now watched a recording of Cole's interview after the arrest. He says the statements that are in the government's filing are missing context, and at some points, the government is making affirmative false statements, he says.
But you're not saying the government's lying.
Well, I'm saying that I believe the manner in which the government made those statements is incorrect and acontextual, and in some instances, absolutely false.
So a lie. The government's lying about what you said.
Some of the representations that the government made, in our opinion, are false.
You can see more of our conversation on fox5dc.com and this week's episode of In the Courts. Cole is...
Come on, dead ringer for Norbit, but that's why everyone keeps mentioning it. But anyways, a few things interesting in there. I think we've talked a little bit about the how they're angling for the pardon thing, because Trump gave a blanket pardon to a bunch of the J6ers, and it was something like defined by like, those who committed crimes within some certain region. I forget exactly how it was framed, the way that the pardon was. So the lawyer is making the case that this would apply, which, I don't know. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. That would kind of wrap this up in a perfect little bow. I mean, we've been kind of following the ins and outs, and it's a little bit confusing to even track all the pipe bomber nonsense, because we had that original Kate, or what was her name? The one broad, the one, the Capitol Police broad or whatever. That they initially were saying it was her based on gait analysis, and let's be real, they were way over their fucking skis and looked really stupid. Once again, it could totally have been her. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if it was her, but it was based on incredibly sloppy journalism. And then, they even retracted it and everything. They, kind of completely fell apart. I mean, if there's any reason to, we could really get back into the weeds of how ridiculous all of that was. But then all of a sudden comes in this Norbit dude who's just kind of like strung up on what seems to be kind of ridiculous circumstances. I believe he's if I recall correctly, he's being described by his neighbors as like this autistic kind of guy, a weird fella. And here, we got him. We got the guy, and now they're angling for a pardon. So that would kind of work out perfectly. It would kind of make it so they can go, oh, look, this is clearly a patsy, oh no, it got away. And you can kind of just like that way the Blaze type people can kind of, have this, if we had it our, blah, 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 and like kind of the impression gives it that like, oh, they were clearly correct because this guy's a patsy and they're trying to, which, I don't know, maybe that's the case, but either way, then you also have the confession that they mentioned in here, which brings up some Program to Kill vibes for sure. Can't remember how many times in that book you see similar such circumstances of what are completely bullshit confessions. It looks like perhaps this is the case as well. I mean, obviously we haven't had a chance to look at this stuff yet. Maybe we will here in the future. But according to his lawyer, he's saying this stuff lacks context or it's just straight up bullshit. So I wouldn't be least bit surprised if this is some sort of manipulated confession of some sort. Moving on, I don't know if you guys knew this, but there was a New Year's Eve attack that was foiled a while ago from an individual allegedly inspired by ISIS, according to Kash Patel. We missed a lot of the specifics on this, but luckily we had Ken on the case, pointing out that this person was on the Fed's radar since they were 14 years old. Here's an excerpt. Investigators believe that Mr. Sturdivant had been radicalized online as a teenager and had first appeared on the radar of federal investigators in 2022, according to officials and court records. So the time, then 14, he had been in contact on social media with a purported ISIS member in Europe. ISIS, was it the Israeli secret intelligence service who had instructed him to dress in black clothing, knock on people's doors, and attack them with a hammer. Investigators said he had set off to do just that, but his grandfather restrained him and brought him home. He was not charged, and he was referred for psychological care instead. Oh, wow. Once again, Program to Kill vibes. James C. Barnacle Jr., the special agent in charge of the FBI in Charlotte, said at a news conference on Friday. Mr. Sturdivant's relatives also assured investigators that he would no longer have access to social media. This week, according to court records, his grandfather told investigators that he made an effort to hide and lock away knives and other tools out of fear that Mr. Sturdivant could use them as weapons. So, we got some hammer-wielding psychopath that apparently had been on the Fed's radar since he was 14 years old and had been talking to ISIS. So that's interesting for sure. And speaking of these foreign entities with odd Israeli connections, here is a little bit of a digging into some more information that's dropped on the Iranian Trump assassination plot. Apparently, DOJ has recently disclosed that it will introduce evidence in the plot that was obtained from a foreign government. The DOJ wants to hide the identity of this government. The defendant in this case is Pakistani, and he has family there. Now, if you guys recall, this is the Iranian one. This is Asif Merchant, the Pakistani man who was busted for hiring 2 undercover FBI agents to be hitmen in an Iranian-sponsored assassination plot against Trump. That's who we're referring to here. This is what frequently gets connected to Butler. People like Mike Walls. You saw a lot of people like shortly after Butler and stuff that were making allusions to Iran being involved in some way. Well, this is where they got off on that. This is where they had the tiniest bit of grain of sort of truth, but once you dig into it a little bit, not quite. For example, he was under investigation before he even entered the U.S. So, which is significant because the DOJ had been saying that he pitched the plot to someone who reported him to the FBI and became an informant. So there's an informant involved as well. This was also before he even entered the U.S., and now we have information coming from a foreign government that the DOJ doesn't want to say who it is. So a little bit interesting. Let's read through the court documents, and this will be the last thing, and then we'll get through. Then we'll go through and say our goodbyes, check into the chat. Who knows? Maybe some more super chats, and then we'll get out of here. But let's read this. It says the court should preclude examination regarding the identity of a third-party country which assisted the government's investigation. It says the government intends to admit at trial the contents of an Apple iPhone belonging to the defendant's relative, which the FBI obtained from a foreign government and extracted overseas. The court should preclude the defendant from cross-examining the government's FBI computer analysis response team, witness about which country provided the iPhone to her for extraction or where she extracted it, because that information is not relevant to the case and is protected by the law enforcement privilege. I think it's a little relevant myself. At trial, the government anticipates eliciting testimony from the FBI CART witness who will explain that she traveled to the foreign country, obtained the iPhone from a foreign government, and conducted a forensic extraction of the device. So, okay. So who is this she? Who is this person? Is a defendant? Which belonging to the defendant's relative? All right. Anyways, a forensic report was later generated from the extraction. Although the witness will testify about her extraction of the iPhone, the government will not elicit the name of the foreign country that provided her the device or the country where the extraction occurred. This person, whoever this broad is, sounds like she's kind of glowing. Among other things, data from the and it's interesting. It sounds like they went to a foreign country, or I mean, I'm assuming this is like maybe where the Asif guy was. I don't know. Among other things, data from the iPhone contains communications between the defendant and his relative regarding the defendant's effort to procure the $5,000 the defendant paid to the UCs as a down payment for his murder for hire plot. Here's more. Here, as detailed in the declaration, the information is sensitive because it would necessarily reveal the confidential cooperation of a foreign law enforcement partner. That foreign partner has requested that its involvement in this matter remain confidential and not be made public. Should that partner's cooperation become public, future cooperation may be hindered, and U.S. law enforcement authorities may lose the ability to obtain the type of evidence received in this case. Makes you wonder who's inserting themselves, giving intelligence, in a plot for Iranian, supposed Iranian terror. Brings up some question marks for sure. All right, let's roll through chat, say our goodbyes. I do have an outro for you guys, a little bit more on the serious side, kind of digging into the resurgence of the Black Panthers in this outro. But let's pop through chat, see who else. If we got anybody else in here, who knows? Maybe some more. I'm not seeing any super chats, so. Boomer saying Erica Kirkstein. Who else we got? Anybody? Any new people? AI Twink is funny, says Boomer Sooner. Okay. Cultural Science says happy name day to Jeff episode. We miss you, King. I'm assuming you mean Jeff, my kitty cat, and not Jeff Epstein. That's what you're talking about, right? Is it Jeffrey Epstein's birthday? All right. Let me see what else we got in here. Wakanda Forever, says user Chathead. We've got a one-man N Tower from PJR. That's a little uncouth. What's the height difference between this Kid Cudi dude and the chick they immediately accused? He does kind of look like, now that he mentioned, he does kind of look like Kid Cudi. It looks like if Kid Cudi and Norbit had a kid. I don't know. That's a good question. I couldn't tell you offhand what the sizes of these people. Good morning, Six Art. Good to see you in here. Good morning. Let's see. We're catching up in the chat. All right, we're all caught up. Let's get out of here, guys. A little bit of an early episode today. That's fine. Whatever. I gotta stretch it out for the week. I think tomorrow we should have Matt Wolfson joining us. I gotta respond to a DM from him. But I was hitting him up just before the show, having him come on. He's wrote a few new pieces relevant to a lot of things going on in the world. So it'll be fun to have him back on the show tomorrow. We'll try to go for an 11 a.m. like we're supposed to do. But if you like this show, if you want to support it, please leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble, all the major audio podcatchers, and Twitter as well, at Tower Gang Jose. You can support the show the best way you can with money. Look up here. You got a QR code. Or you can just go to patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. Brings you the same place either way. You get access to a whole host of perks. You do 1 to 2 episodes per week. Try to keep about 4 behind the paywall any given time. I think by the end of this week, as bad as I've been about releasing to the public, I think it might actually have 6. And then also you get ad-free RSS feed, you get access to the Telegram, you get access to pre-show, post-show, and video calls. And me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, Already Dead, which is on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. That's today, baby. Pop in tonight. Call in, Uncle Ted. And I give a big shout out to my sponsors, which is the highest level of my Patreon. It's a big thank you for all their support. And my previous co-host, entire gang, at Learn to Toad, also at @BrigadeDs, at ZOVRCK, at _VinceDeal, Tim Tuttle, at John Lane Klebo, big fan of the show, Torn May, at Wayne Tagless, Wonder Hard Car for Kids, No Free Lunch Jack, Mark Vestibule, and Jacob Winograd of the Biblical Energy Podcast. And with that, guys, we're going to get out of here. Enjoy this outro. Here's one of the new Black Panthers spitting bars out here. I just thought this was pretty interesting. For one, it is a little bit funny. He's flowing, but enjoy this one. We'll see you tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern.
Won't no ICE agent ever run up on me. I guarantee you they won't. I'll put a hole in their chest the size of a window. Safe line repair, safe line replace. That's what's going to happen. They touch me. Unarmed woman was killed by ICE. If you think you're about to come and brutalize the people while we're standing here, fuck around and find out. Our interactions with the police and ICE, and we hold them accountable. We patrol the community and we hold them accountable. The Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, we're the same Panther Party from back in the day, but we're a little more aggressive now, you dig? Carry bigger guns and we don't take no shit. Places where there are a lot of immigrants at, I think that the community around them needs to take special care to them and needs to start escorting them to and from everywhere to make sure that they're safe. Because the ICE agents ain't gonna act like that if it's a bunch of people standing outside with assault rifles and shotguns. It's a semi-automatic shotgun. That means them shotgun shells that shoot out of a pump, they shoot them rapidly. If you are gonna legally arm yourself with something bigger than what they got. Those who serve in the public, they should be fearful of the public. They should be fearful that the public's going to be dissatisfied with their job that they're doing, not feeling like they're tyrants, not feeling like they're bullies because they got guns and body armor and walkie-talkies. That makes them immune to whatever the people would do. I think you want to correct the ideology of the pig and the mentality of the slave catcher, you meet them with equal force. All power to the motherfucking people.
No power to the pig.